Hi, I'm Paul McCurdy, Borough Manager for Ridgway. Career path leading up to being Borough Manager, I did several things. Starting in municipal government, now ending in municipal government. I started in 1974 at probably 21 years old as an operator in training at a sewage plant, a municipal sewage plant. Now you should understand that municipalities, their purpose is to provide essential services to the community. Those services include things like sewage treatment, drinking water, streets, stormwater collection, trash pickup, police protection, other safety emergency response things. So there's a variety of things you can do in municipal government. I started out in the wastewater end. And to be successful in that, if you're interested in a career as a wastewater operator, what you need is a good high school education with competencies in science and math. You need to know some chemistry, some biology, algebra, and geometry. If you've done those things successfully in high school, you can become an operator. I started without any specialized training as an operator in training, took courses prepared by the University of Sacramento, which are still available today, to prepare for state certification, and then went on further to get an associate's degree through a community college. And I advanced in rank because the plant I started at, there wasn't any quick room for promotion, so they were building a lot of plants back then, sewage plants. So I changed jobs after about 2 or 3 years for an advancement, and then I changed jobs again for an advancement to become assistant superintendent at a sewage plant, and then did that while I finished my degree at Knights. I got a little bit stale in that job and came to Ridgway then to work for an industry here who had an industrial wastewater plant that couldn't meet state standards, and they were being fined $10,000 a month. They needed somebody to make it work. I did that for them. And that's what brought me to Ridgway. And we found we liked this town because it's a friendly, nice place to live. Well, that job got to the point where I didn't feel secure in it, and an offer came along to work for a consulting engineering company in Boston, Metcalf and Eddy. And they're one of the leaders. They wrote the textbook. If you study wastewater engineering, water, you're going to get the book written by Metcalf and Eddy. And I worked for them. That was delightful for about 3 years, and did a lot of troubleshooting, training, problem solving for water and wastewater plants that weren't doing so well. And that job came to an abrupt end, and I was able to come back to Ridgway, for which we were delighted to come back here. And then I worked here for, 8 or 10 years, again at the ink plant, until that plant was closed. Then they transferred me to Kentucky, where at that time I became the environmental and safety manager for a manufacturing company with factories in 4 different states at that time I had responsibility for, and a lot of travel and so on. That was getting wearisome. And as I was cleaning up the site here in Ridgway, why the then president of Ridgway Borough Council said, we're thinking of hiring an environmental manager, would you consider it? Wanting to stay in their good graces, I said, I'll consider it. I doubt if you can afford me, but I'll consider it. And they made me an offer that I accepted, which was less compensation, probably less of a future than I had in the industry, but it brought me back to Ridgway, which is something that is near and dear to my heart, a place I want to be. So I was willing to take a lower paying job, less prestigious job, to live here. And I've been, I think, working for the borough around 20 years now, and through various successions, why I'm now the borough manager. Okay, the main responsibilities that I have as borough manager are for the budget control. We operate, essentially 5 different businesses here, and you have to have a budget for each and control the costs and so on like that. I have responsibility for the personnel. Everybody who works for the borough is hired by a borough manager. Only the borough manager is hired by council. So you have personnel responsibility for all the folks that work here, with, in my case, the exception of the police department. There's a lot of compliance issues to deal with. The environmental compliance for water and wastewater, there's PennDOT compliance, there's labor compliance, there's all sorts of regulatory things that we have to comply with. And then what's more visible to folks around town are the projects we do when we resurface a street or replace a water line or a sewer line, those sorts of things. You see that. But most of what we do, I think, goes unseen, and people only notice it when it isn't done. You know, the leaf collection or the snow plowing, those sorts of services we provide. So the responsibilities are very broad, and I'm not sure what the main ones are, but it's quite a variety. Surprisingly, the skills I use most are not the technical skills that I've acquired over the years, specifically relative to water and wastewater and rate setting and those things with the public utilities. The skills I actually use most often are problem solving and communicating. And I'd like to expand on that a little bit. Problems crop up in all sorts of areas, and you have to take a look at these from an analytical perspective and go to original sources for data, not hearsay, not speculation. Get some good, solid data. To make an informed decision, you need accurate and thorough information. So that helps in the problem solving. That's a big part of it. Now, the communication is something that I've gained a greater understanding of over time. In my college work, I was fascinated by communication. I was convinced that being able to write well was essential. Being able to speak well was essential, and disciplined myself to do these things. And I have found that very precise speaking, writing, sometimes does not communicate the message to the hearer. And so you have to modify things so that the person that you're trying to speak to can hear it. And then I find myself recently in situations where there are two other people trying to communicate and neither one is understanding the other one. They may be using the same word and giving it a different value or different meaning. And then I have to take the role as the third party, trying to understand this person and understand that person, and then try to get those two to understand each other. That's quite a challenge. Rewarding when it works, but frustrating when it doesn't. So, and that takes a lot of mental energy. It can be exhausting at the end. But so often disputes are not that people disagree so much, but they're saying things that are not properly understood. And if I would say primary challenge is the responsibilities exceed the resources. We don't have enough people to do all the things that need done. We don't have enough money to do all the things that need done. In any municipality, you have the same set of responsibilities. Ridgway has the same set of responsibilities as the city of Pittsburgh, and not nearly the resources to do it. And all the folks that work here have to be multi-skilled, whereas in a larger city, people are specialized and they can be very expert at this certain thing that they're working on. But we have to be multi-skilled, and everybody does more than one job. And consequently, we are not as expert as we would like to be, but we do the best we can with the resources we have, and actually do a very good job of it. Ridgway provides all the essential services at reasonable rates. I think low taxes if you compare us to the state as a whole, and we're doing quite well. What I've always enjoyed in working is problem solving and completing projects. If I can figure out something, develop a new system, finish a project, get something built, something working, that's satisfying to me. A lot of times I don't get to do the satisfying work. I'm chasing down nagging little details and conflicts and so on, but the rewarding parts, the parts I like, are solving problems and getting projects complete. An average day is this. I get up in the morning and I plan my day, come into work about an hour early, hoping to get some things done before people start pestering me. And then the whole day changes and I work an hour late trying to get the things done that I was going to do when I first came in but never got started on. I think the positive things, some of the great things about Ridgway, are the friendliness of the people. I say Ridgway takes care of their own. Whenever there's a crisis, the town rallies around to help those folks out. I think that's a very valuable thing. People are friendly and open, operate at a relaxed pace. I don't know if it would happen today, but there was a time a few years back where I needed to buy another car and I needed to make a business trip, and I didn't have time to get the bank loan and all straightened out, and just on a nod and a handshake I drove off in my car without paying for it yet and went to a meeting down in Washington. So that kind of trust you don't find elsewhere. I'm not sure if it could still be that way today, but it has been in the past, and that's the sort of thing I like. I know the folks I see on the street, and for the most part, you know, get along with everybody and enjoy them. So I think it's the friendliness of the people